Well, hello. I'm going to present you here with 4 videos from IGTV. Yes, I've been leading a double life. IGTV is Instagram's answer to YouTube, where they do vertical format videos, and looked up at the sky there. I will admit I'm a little dubious of the whole vertical format thing, but interesting. So I have a link to my Instagram account in the video description, and if you want to check out these videos and more, please feel free to follow the links. You'll probably have to watch them on your cell phone or some other vertical format thingy, but hope you find it interesting. So let's check into this. Well, hello. Today I'd like to talk about some flex pens. Specifically, I want to compare vintage flex to some modern flex. It almost brings up to mind that song, "I'm Flexy and I know it." Or maybe I shouldn't sing, I should just talk about pens. So what I have for you, I did a video, might have been a year or two ago, where I compared some modern flex pens. So I took some of the front runners, and I compared them to a vintage flex pen that I just reviewed this week on my YouTube channel. So let's take a look at them. The first pen is a Pilot Justice 95. Nice plain black pen, which you know is my thing. What makes it unique, it's a soft, fine nib, but it's adjustable via this cantilever here. From hard to soft. Now, in practice, the hard isn't particularly hard, but definitely harder than when it's turned to soft. This Omas Ogiva, Omas sadly is no longer with us, but they had these cocktail editions. This particular Ogiva came with Omas had an extra flexibile nib. Mine is a medium. I kind of hoped for a fine, but when Omas went out of business, I said, well, I'm just glad I got something. And then I have a Pilot Custom 743. This one has a Falcon nib on it, which has a sides nipped out. And that was the front runner in my Modern Flex video. And finally this week I did a Molster pen column number SW68, which was its postal code, and number 930. This is a Croatian pen, at least the brand was Croatian, but this was probably made in a factory in Berlin, Germany. SW68 is a postal code of where the factory would have been. There is the lovely nib in question. Let's see if I can get closer. It was very impressive, and it will be impressive in just a few minutes. And I think you know who I think is going to win. So, my very first pen is the Pilot Justice 95. Sorry, I couldn't resist rating that. See, I do know modern music. So it's a soft, fine nib. If we wanted to check out its flex, soft, not flexy. So you get line variation. It takes a little bit of pressure to get much, and it's not amazing, but it's enough to make a very attractive line. When I switch to hard, a little bit less flex and definitely more effort. So I don't think this one is even trying to compare with flex. It's not even trying to be flex. It is soft. Now the Omas Ogiva is a little bit flexier because it has that extra flexibile nib. tried to do it where I just barely kissed the paper, and I thought it was flexing too much, but then I remembered it's a medium. So I think the fine would have been even more fun. Might have even won, but I didn't get a fine because, as I said, Omas was in its dying days at that point. Then I have the Pilot Custom. $743 with the Falcon nib, which is not quite the same thing as a Pilot Falcon or a Namiki Falcon if you ever decide to purchase one of those. I do not own one, but it would be more comparable to a Pilot Justice, only without the adjustable flex. With flex, without. And definitely gives more line variation than that Omas Ojiva. So let's finally go with the vintage pen, which is a short little fella. Definitely a very wet pen. It's an extra fine, which I struggle to believe. So now that you've seen that, it is the wettest of the bunch, which kind of gives it an unfair... Is that showing up? Yes. So there is the Molster Pen Kala. We'll go back through the modern winner, which is not as wet. Omas Ojiva. And the Pilot Justice, which, again, isn't here because it's a flex pen, because it is not. I think the end result you can see there. I actually think they flexed about equally well, the Pilot 743 and the Molster Pen Kala. Let me tell you what the difference was. It's something you couldn't see on the camera. It was how hard was I pressing into the paper. That Molster Pen Kala really takes no effort to get that. That happens when I write. The Omas Ojiva, the Pilot Custom 743, those take a little bit of force. When I purchased the Molster Pen Kala, it says in the description a 3mm spread for the tines. I'm not doing a rude British gesture. I'm just pretending my fingers are tines. But anyway, I just can't bring myself to push it to 3mm because I'm scared it'll go whoop, and then I'll just be like, wait, snap back, and it won't. So I'm not going to try it. But that's the difference. The Molster Pen Kala just spreads and comes back. The others take some force. The Pilot Justice particularly, but again, that's a soft fine nib, not a flex nib. You will see the word flex used on a lot of modern pens that some would argue don't deserve it. I'm leery of making that argument, mostly because I haven't had the word flex well defined for me. I think there's a continuum of hard to soft to flex to wet noodle. I struggle with where the boundaries are because I haven't found an objective way to measure it. I've seen suggestions of writing on a scale to measure the amount of force that you're putting on. I don't know. There's so many variables there again. So, but I thought, rather than try and be scientific, there's some eye candy. So, I want to thank you for watching. We'll see you later. Bye-bye. Well, hello. Today I'd like to take you to Central Europe and share with you a few Central European pens. I have represented here Hungary, Poland, and Croatia. So let's take a look at them. Of course, you probably know, if you follow my YouTube channel, that the lesser known, especially Central European and a bit Western and Eastern European too, pens are some of my favorites to collect. It's just always interesting what a surprise there is among these pens. So I have here a Hungarian Prima, a Molster pen Kala made in Croatia, possibly made in Berlin because there were factories in both locations at the time, but it's impossible to tell, and a Polish Inco. So let's take a look at them one by one. The Hungarian Prima clearly identifies itself as such on the barrel. I don't know if the 109 is a model or what it is. Thus, it's a Prima 61 though. Thus far, I haven't been able to learn much about the brand. You can see at the, let's get this right side up here, you can see at the top of the barrel some staining. It's a demonstrator. I've not been able to get that staining out. I've tried. It's just stained too well. But brass piston mechanism, so that's kind of cool. This pen is probably a little unfair to throw in with the batch. The piston is a bit chewed upon. I don't know, mice or whatever. And that's awkward. And it's upside down again. Doggone it. Yeah, that's awkward. Pelikan nib. So, somewhere along the line, because I haven't read that this was a thing, somebody decided to switch out a Pelikan nib for what was there. And you can tell that this isn't probably original equipment because the feed really doesn't mesh well with the nib. Now, as you'll see, the thing writes well. It just doesn't look so hot. My next, and I don't really know when this was made. At a guess, I'd say the 1950s. My next pen is from the 1930s. It's a Molster pen Kala. How do I know? Well, I have the box. And I have that. This one is a button filler. It arrived in beautiful condition. Kind of like a top, sort of like a Kaweco Dia 2. Or I should say Kaweco Dia. I have a vintage one of them. It's a feed, fairly simple. And we'll turn this right side up. Wow, this vertical format, once again, is biting me. 14 karat, 585, and then a symbol that I think I need to take a macro photograph before I do a real review of this pen, because I can't make out what that is. Finally, I think I showed this pen on an earlier episode. Whoops. This is a Polish Prima. A little bit of corrosion there. Probably from the 50s or 60s. You can see here, Inco. Did I say Polish Prima? I meant a Polish Inco. That's awkward. Made in Poland. This blind cap hides a syringe filler. You push it down, you pull it up, it sucks in the ink. And the nib is surprisingly original equipment from everything I've read. Warranted wing flow. What country is that? Yeah, I don't get it either. But apparently that was a thing with this pen. I should also mention missing trim ring. So that's the pens. Let's see how they write. This pen has a Pelikan oblique medium nib on it. The ink is a very French Giobon Lidite. And of course this pen is Hungarian. Something like that. The next pen is so short, I actually do have to post it. This is a Molsterpen Kala. SW68, number 930, whatever all that means, we'll figure out later. It is actually an extra fine. Yeah, I don't believe it either. And the ink is Diamine Sunset. And this is probably Macedonian. And of course, we're talking pre-World War II. This pen comes to us from the 1930s. And finally, I have my Polish Inko. Wait, you expected more? That's all I know. It's an Inko. It's Polish. It's a pen. The ink in it is Noodler's. Actually, I like the nib on this one a lot. Rattler Eel Red. This, of course, is Polish. Probably from the 1950s. So those are my Central European pens for the week. Hope you found them interesting. Leave a comment. Let me know which one you like. Perhaps you have a suggestion for making this Instagram channel better. I'm learning to work with the vertical format. It's just awkward to me. And yeah, I'd like to make this its own beast. So I want to thank you for watching. We'll see you later. Bye-bye. Well, hello. I'm sitting at my favorite street cafe when I'm in Italy and enjoying a little bit of espresso. And I thought I would okay. I'm in a drab, dreary, cold basement in North Dakota and it's snowing outside. Well, let's pretend, because I brought some Italians with me. This was inspired by a comment on one of my videos that I should share my great Italian pens. And it turned out when I collected all my Italian pens together, I had too many for one video. So I have these, and then there will be another video next week that will share some of my other Italian pens. So let's take a look at these sunny Italian pens. So from left to right, this is my Aurora 88, which I love. This is a much older Aurora 88, probably from the late 40s or early 50s. Omaso Giva, which, by the way, I just saw one for sale for more than double what I paid for this one. So I guess I got in at the right time. My Visconti Homo Sapiens, my Montegrappa Fortuna, my Delta Dolce Vita Magnifica, which is a pen you have not seen anywhere yet. I have filmed a first impressions of it already. It just hasn't been released yet. So you'll get a sneak peek of this pen. And finally, the problem child of the batch, which is my Stipula Etruria. So let's see how these things write. So the first pen I want to show you, Aurora 88. This is a modern one with a beautiful flex nib. The ink in it, if I list the inks, I won't have room to write all the pens and do some doodling, so I'll just tell you the ink in it is Pelikan Edelstein Olivine. So, just a wonderful, wonderful pen, wonderful, wonderful nib. I love this pen. If they weren't so darn expensive, I think I'd get a couple more in some of the regular nibs. But my bank account won't let me. My next one is its much older relative. This is an Aurora 88 again. Some of the ebonite has faded, but I don't care. I fell deeply in love, and tarnishing, I fell deeply in love with this pen when I purchased it and started using it. Let's see here. Give you a close-up of the nib. I just filled it so you can't really see the ink window. But beautiful pen. Yes, it's showing its age, but I don't care. I love it. This pen was originally supposed to compete with the Parker 51, but I think it became a great pen in its own right. The ink in this one, by the way, is Califolio Aurora, which seemed appropriate, that's why I put it in. Next pen, my Omas Ogiva Cocktail. Omas is sadly no longer with us. And like I said, if you find one of these, they are now apparently at least twice as expensive as they were when I bought this one. This one is a medium extra flessibile nib. So EF means extra flessibile. The ink in it is Omas Gray. They had rather nice bottles when they were around. Colors weren't anything too special. This ink is generally miserable and very faded, but this pen really brings it out, which makes sense because it's an Omas ink. I've heard bad things about the Visconti brand. I got a good one, although the My Pen system failed, so I recently glued this Tiger's Eye finial in. The original finial that was there, of course, is lost. This is made from volcanic ash from Mount Etna in Italy. Palladium nib, which is unique. Like I said, I've heard stories about Visconti. This is the only Visconti I own, so I can't give you anything from personal experience. My experience with Visconti, other than the My Pen system, has been quite good. But you can only review the pens you own. Has a medium nib in it. The ink in this guy, I gotta look at my list because I'm not remembering this one, is a Califolio Inca Sol. Just a very wet, very nice writer. It's not really a flex nib, but just enough flexibility to be interesting. And you can tell it's cold down here from the condensation from my hand where I was holding it. I don't usually have that, but it's been sitting down here and the pen's cold, my hand's warm. Doesn't belong in this company. If I'd gotten maybe the fire blue finish, it would, but yeah, I didn't really want that. So I have the Barcelona Mosaico Montegrappa Fortuna. I think it's gorgeous. I think the fire blue is gorgeous too, but I'm not paying $400 for it. So Montegrappa Fortuna. This is a broad nib, but it doesn't act like one. Not a flex nib, it's a steel nib. Not a steel flex nib either. But I'm very happy with it. I've also heard some things about Montegrappa nibs and pens. I've never had trouble with it. I like this pen a lot. Now, I've filmed the first impressions of this next pen. I look forward to that on my channel eventually. So you're getting a preview before the first impression, but I really wanted to film this video, so I thought I'd go ahead. I saw this on eBay. It's used, I think, but it had their gimmick nib, their little fusion nib, which I'll get into that when I do a review of this pen, but it's the physicist in me is bothered a lot by that and all the claims that went around it. Delta Dolce Vita. Oh shoot, masterpiece. Has a medium nib. I am using Delta Black in it. It makes a lot of feedback sound, but it writes decently. And it's very attractive. But that stupid fusion nib really does nothing for me. And then what's been my problem child lately, and I think was the inspiration for this. This is my Stipula Etruria, Prisma 88, Magma, whatever. Gorgeous pen. Getting the darn thing to write has been a bugger. It is writing decently now. Do I think it could be better? Absolutely. It has its T-Flex nib on it. Got to sound all redneck and such. I'm starting to wonder if maybe I could better align the tines, and maybe that would solve some of my issues. I'm not going to write its full name. It's long. Stipula Etruria T-Flex. And it makes this ink look gorgeous. I tried a different nib in this pen and wasn't as impressed with this ink. I think with other inks I might be. I may also try this nib in a different pen just to see what happens. You know, there are a lot of variables. But a little railroady, like I said, it's my problem child. So that's my first video of my great Italian pens. I will be back next week with another 5 Italian pens that are a little bit lower cost. So we'll see you then. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye. Well, hello. Welcome to Tokyo, where I'm sitting at my favorite cafe, just like it was in Italy. Yeah, I'm traveling, you know, it just kind of goes along with that teaching science in rural North Dakota. You have to visit all these exotic countries, but, you know, sipping on some sake, you know, hopefully my voice doesn't get all slurred from my sake. It's nice and warm. And I thought I'd talk a little bit about platinum pens. Now this was inspired because a viewer of my YouTube channel has actually recently purchased his Platinum President, the red one, and I thought, you know, I should share mine too. Again, you know, kind of in solidarity and to celebrate. And then I thought, well, let's talk about Platinum as a brand. So I thought I'd just take a look at a couple of the pens from Platinum. One thing that surprised me, I thought I would be including a Platinum Plaisir here, and I'm not. I've reviewed one, I've owned one, but all I can think of is I must have given it away. And I know that's something I do. I give away pens, especially the lower cost ones, to people who are interested, and I feel like that's what I must have done with it. So, sorry, Platinum Plaisir will not appear in this video. But, thankfully, the street noise here in Tokyo is really quiet right now. It sounds almost like I'm in my basement, because I'm a small town boy living in small town North Dakota, in a really, really rural part of North Dakota. I'm not used to all this high-tech city traffic here, y'all. So let's take a look at the pens. So what I have here, I have a Platinum Preppy, which is an absolute bargain if you're looking at fountain pens. Low cost, excellent writer, holds its ink forever, has an excellent, not slip and seal, but definitely an excellent mechanism for keeping the nib moist. And you can eyedropper it, which I will probably do with this pen after I run out this black cartridge. Just an excellent pen. Also, you can put marker tips in it and highlighter tips. The Plaisir is the same thing, just with a better dress on. It's metal instead of plastic, and a little, you know, without all this garish labeling. This is a Platinum Cool. I went back to my review on it because I couldn't really remember what I'd thought of it. I haven't written with it in a long time, and I would have sworn I'd given this one away. I remember so I saw that I complained that it skipped a bit. I don't know if that's a thing. I've been writing with it a bit since I got it out. It's not skipping. I don't know. I'm quite thrilled with it, actually, right now. So we'll see. Platinum 3776. Available in a lot of finishes and a lot of different nibs. This is the Lavande finish. I just recently unveiled it after being in storage for a long time. Has a slip and seal mechanism here to help, again, to keep the nib moist. This isn't my best example. I have a different one that shows the slip and seal better, but that one is still sealed up because that was going to be my last one to unveil on YouTube, so we'll go with this. Normally I'd have a converter in it, but I did cartridges for that Platinum series, so yeah, it's Platinum Cartridge Black. Holy cow, a cartridge of Platinum Black. That doggone sake I'm imagining myself drinking is going to my head. Yeah, so maybe I should go find some real sake after this. Platinum President, pen I've fallen really in love with. I found you can buy the same nib on some very gorgeous pens, Platinum Izumo models. I definitely would not mind owning one of them. My bank account says differently, though, so until my bank account and I can negotiate an agreement, we'll just go without. But still, I can enjoy this pen, which is considered Platinum's flagship model. And mine was ground to a cursive italic nib by Dan Smith of the Nibsmith. So let's see how they write. So we'll start with the Platinum Preppy. Nothing exciting. Unless you count the fact that it started right up, writing just like a champ. I just have a Platinum Black cartridge in it. One complaint some people may have about Platinum is that, oh, you can't see the whole writing sample. Some people may complain that they have a proprietary cartridge. I agree. It means I can't put just anything in it. On the other hand, it is a very good cartridge. And this pen, of course, don't look for flex. Don't look for anything fancy. But it does write well. The Platinum Cool theoretically has a little bit of flex to it. I don't know if that's the case, but I remember that being mentioned a few times. Oh, and it skipped just like I was saying I complained about. Actually surprised by how broadly that's writing. I don't recall what nib is on it, and I don't see it written on it, so we won't write a nib size. The ink in it is Girbon. Blue Ocean. Which apparently is French for blue ocean. As far as the flex goes, no pressure. Not a lot of pressure because I'm not one to really force nibs, although I'm told I have a heavy hand. But a decent writer nonetheless. Now this is not its soft brethren. This is just a regular Platinum 3776 with a fine nib, although a very attractive finish. These are available in an amazing range of colors and finishes. See, no flex. And the fine is very definitely fine. But a good writer. I mean, I like this model a lot. That's why I have so many of them. And finally, the Platinum President. This is Girbon. I'm going to abbreviate so I can actually fit the name on. 1798. I got to look and cheat on the computer because I don't remember how to pronounce it or say it or what it is. Amethyste Lural. Darn it, I thought I could fit it all in one line. Do I have room? Okay, just barely have room to fit the last bit of this writing sample. This pen actually was ground by Dan Smith of the Nib Smith, which is where I bought it, to a broad cursive italic. And I'm very impressed with the cursive italic. Very sharp there. Very sharp difference. Not a stub nib, but holy cow, what a lot of line variation. So I thought I'd just give you a quick overview of a few platinum fountain pens. I hope that was somewhat interesting and you found maybe something to look at. The Platinum 3776, if you're looking for a gold nib pen, is quite a bargain. Quite low priced among the gold nib pens. The Platinum President is a bit more. Not a lot of colors in it if you stick with the standard line. Not, at least as far as I've seen, in the US market, not the choices in nib sizes. But a very good writer and a very solid feeling pen in the hand. I like the Platinum President a lot. So, I hope gave you some insight into Platinum, and if you want a dressed up Platinum preppy, go for the Platinum Plaisir. So thank you for watching. We'll see you later. Bye-bye. Well, hello. I'd like to welcome you back to Italy. Last week I did a video where I talked about some of my great Italian pens, and I had 7 pens up here. This week I went a little bit lower market and decided to use my less expensive pens. And you may notice when you put the two videos together a preference for a certain Italian brand in my collection. But let's dive into what I have this week. This week I have the Delta Serena, a pen I thought was lost, but a little super glue brought it back to life. I have an Aurora Style. I have an Aurora Duocart. Just for giggles and snorts to compare with 2 pens, I have an Aurora 88, a vintage one, probably from the 1950s. And from the 1960s, I have a Columbus 65, which I don't actually know what market the Columbus 65 was aiming at. So I just decided to throw it in here because it was overcrowded last week. So Delta Serena, we'll take a quick gander at it, had to be repaired because the threads broke off from the barrel. But it is now writing, has a titanium coated broad steel nib. It's very attractive finish too. I just love that finish. My Aurora Style kind of looks old-fashioned, but so attractive. Steel nib pen, of course, by Aurora, broad, and has a feed, which I'm not sure if it's ebonite or plastic. I know their upper-end pens use ebonite feeds. I'm not sure with this one. Aurora Duocart, which was the student version of a later version of the Aurora 88. This, of course, is not that pen. This is a re-release. This is a modern pen, or they recreated the Duocart. Of course, a vintage Aurora 88, not the one you saw last week. This is a different one. Doesn't have the faded ebonite. That has the Nick Argenta finish, and it's a little less tarnished and chopped up overall. But I like how the other one writes a lot better, so I thought I would throw this one here. And finally, a company that is no longer with us, Columbus. This is a Columbus 65. This is the only Columbus I've ever owned. You can see here, there it is, the branding. Screw cap. It kind of does its own thing, but it sure looks Aurora 88-like at the same time. piston fill pen just like the Aurora 88. So I'll be writing with them. I'll tell you the ink, but I won't be writing the name of the ink. So my first pen will be the Delta Serena. I'm trying to match up here. So the Delta Serena has a broad nib. And I decided just for fun to put a little bit different ink that I don't use as much as I should in it. This is Rohrer and Klingner Scabiosa. So not a flex nib by any means, but definitely provides a little bit of line variation just by its somewhat stubbish shape. And definitely a very wet writer. I like the coloring on this ink when it's in this pen, so you may see this ink in this pen again. The Aurora Style is a fun pen. Oh gosh, if you saw how I'm doing this, you would understand why this is all awkward. Steel nib pen again. Broad, although definitely Delta and Aurora have very different definitions of broad. Giban, Bossilla de Lune, moon dust, and we'll do a little bit of swoopies. Again, line variation, not a flex nib. Very good nib. Has some feedback to it, which I don't mind. And then we come to the Aurora Duocart. It was not sold with a particular nib size, but it is a medium. This was at the time a student version of the Aurora 88, but the version that was out right at the time in the 60s. But it is its own beast. And this is, of course, a modern pen, so it is I'd lost my train of thought there. This ink, the ink in this pen is Califolio Bourgogne. Yes, I have developed an interest in Califolio inks lately. Here is a vintage from the 1950s, probably, Aurora 88. As I said before, this is not as good as my more lived-in one, but it still is a very good writer. So the ink in this is Giban, I'm going to butcher this, I am sorry, Ambre de Bermenet, something like that. I don't know why, but I just struggle with French pronunciation. Spanish, German, they seem to roll off the tongue easily. Just French? Something about it, I don't know. And then I have, let's pull this down just a little bit, my Columbus 88. Or sorry, Columbus 65. Aurora 88, Columbus 65. This is an impressive pen. Nice wet writer. The ink in it is the Diamine Autumn Oak. I don't think it looks quite as impressive in this pen as it does when I was writing with my Stipula last week. That said, it's still quite attractive. There's a lot of pieces to your writing experience. Some inks just play better in some pens than others, just the way it is. So that's a look at my lower cost end of my Italian fountain pens, and I'm filming this on the same day I filmed the other video, so it's still snowing outside, and in about half an hour I have to go outdoors walk down to the post office and mail some pens off to somebody. 4 pens I'm mailing out, so yay, snow. But I get to go to sunny Italy and enjoy the Mediterranean sun for a while. So I thank you for watching. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.